We have 11.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the November Joint Government Operations Rule Review hearing. I know we do not have a quorum in the Senate, but we'll take the roll call in the Senate and then in the House, please. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling. Senator Crow is present. Senator Hatcher is present. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose
Here.
is present. Chairman, you have 3 present.
Thank you. And you'll take the roll call vote in the House as well, please.
Representative Clemens is present. Representative Crawford is present. Representative Faison is present. Representative Fritz is present. Representative Glenn. Representative Hardaway is present. Representative Hilton Haynes. Representative Marbury. Representative McKenzie is present. Representative Parkinson. Representative Reedy is present. Representative Renault is present. Representative Rutter is present. Representative Sherrill is present. Representative Towns. Chairman Lafferty is present.
All right, we have a quorum in the House. Before we get started, I know I'd like to recognize Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today, one of our very, very own is going to be buried. And Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, we'll just have a moment of silence and prayer. But before we pray, I just wanted to mention Jeff Burkhart. You hear the terminology sometimes. He's one of the good ones. And if you did know Jeff, I'm sure you appreciated him. I'll tell you a quick story. When I knocked doors for him last year, so many doors that I knocked at, people would say, "Oh, let me tell you a story what Jeff did for me. Let me tell you what Jeff did for my daughter. Let me tell you what Jeff did for my son." At one point, I was coming through this neighborhood, and there was a fire truck full of firemen. There was like 6 firemen. They pulled over because I had a Burkhart shirt on, and I was carrying signs. And they said, "Hey, we love us some Burkhart. Can we have those signs?" And I've knocked doors in probably 70 counties, and that's never happened to me. And it was just a testament of who he was. And with your indulgence committee, I just thought we'd just offer a prayer. And also for Senator Jackson, his wife is in the hospital. Did you tell me triple bypass?
No, quadruple pneumonia.
Holy moly. Yeah.
She is doing better. Talked to Ed just a few moments ago. She's improving, but I know she appreciates your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
So committee, let's just pray real quick. Father, it's a joy to know you, a joy to know that you care about us and that you are acquainted, understand our griefs. And we pray that for our friend's family, Jeff's family, that you will minister to them, make yourself aware to them, give them resolve so that they can charter these difficult times. Thank you for the time that we had with Jeff, and we're grateful to who you are and for what you've done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Chairman Faison. Let me just add to what he said. You know, for those of us that are believers in Christ, we never grieve as those that have no hope. And from what I understand of referencing Burkhart, he is with his Lord and Savior right now, and we rejoice in that fact. We think while we rejoice, I also want to recognize Senator Hatcher. He's got an announcement to make and maybe some kind of wish he would like to extend to someone. So, Senator Hatcher, would you share what's on your heart, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would like to wish my wife a happy anniversary today. It was our 48th wedding anniversary. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other personal? Representative Hardaway, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Chairman Faison for the prayer. I just feel compelled to say something about Jeff because I considered him to be a friend from day one. He made a point to stop by my desk, coming and going. I probably got to know him better than some of the folks I've been up here with for 10, 15 years. But he was a good man no matter where we were on the political spectrum. And I extend my condolences and sympathies and certainly prayers for comfort and care to his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hardaway. Any other personal comments, questions? All right, we will get started. We have a long agenda today. We have 15 items. We'll start with item 1, which is the State Board of Education. And the next group, you know who you are. If you will be ready to come up just as soon as they dismiss, we'd appreciate it. I do need to let you know, to my right and to your left, there is a sign-up sheet. And if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to comment, you will have 3 minutes unless this meeting goes really, really, really long, and you may only have a minute and a half. So we'll make that determination as we go along. So, Mr. James, good to have you and your team with us. Would you tell us who you are and who you're with, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Nathan James. I'm with the State Board of Education, and I'm joined by Rachel Supay, our General Counsel, and Anna Hall over there is with the Department of Education. And we're on page 1 of the rule packet at this point in time. This is the emergency licensure rule. So Public Chapter 328 of 2025 took effect on the 1st of July, and it made various revisions to educator licensure laws to streamline certain requirements and increase consistency across emergency credentials and license types. These rule changes make corresponding revisions to our educator licensure rule so that there's no disagreement between the statute and the rule. Again, this had an implementation date of the 1st of July, so the only way to get things in place for this school year was via emergency rule. So we can go through some of these things. Its revisions include adding the limited occupational teaching license to the list of eligible license types and defining the validity period for limited licenses and limited occupational licenses. That validity period is 3 years. And allowing educators to add additional endorsements to subsequent issuances of their post-secondary educator license. It allows an educator to teach a course with an end-of-course exam if the educator is granted an emergency credential as outlined in the endorsement or permits rule. Now, that's new, and it comes directly from the statute. Let's see. It also removes the prohibition against granting endorsement exemptions for courses with an end-of-course exam. Again, new. Again, also specifically from the statute. Removing the prohibition against granting clinical practice permits to teach elementary physical education courses. Again, that's from the statute. Previously, you had the Tom Cronin Act, which would not permit that up to the passage of this law. Removing the requirements for occupational permits, which have been replaced by the new limited occupational teaching license. Amending the requirements for the issuance of limited licenses to educators who have utilized 3 temporary teaching permits. Removing the prohibition to grant a limited license for courses with an end-of-course exam, and outlining the requirements for issuance, renewal, and advancement of the limited occupational teaching license. This will be a new type of occupational teaching license, and it was created, again, by Public Chapter 328. To obtain the license, an individual must meet certain industry work credential requirements, complete the LEA training in specific subject areas, and receive support from a highly effective mentor teacher during the validity period of that license. Again, those things laid out in the statute. Let's see, we will be voting on a permanent version of this rule at our November 2025 meeting, which is tomorrow and the next day at Northeast State Community College. So with that, we're happy to take questions.
All right, thank you. You've heard the rule presentation by Mr. James. Are there any questions from our committee? Yes, sir. Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
What's the purpose of this new license?
Well, every bit of this was to reflect the statute that the legislature put into place for Public Chapter 328. So
Well, understanding that, but for you to create the rules, then you must have some understanding of what the purpose is versus the current licensure.
Well, as far as some of the prohibitions and changes go, that was, I think it was seen by the legislature as a way of attempting to alleviate the various regional teaching shortages that have taken place. I would certainly be happy for the Department of Education to weigh in on the specific occupational license, which I think is what you were asking about.
You recognize, if you will, introduce yourself to us, please. Thanks.
Anna Hall from the Department of Education. Essentially, the limited occupational license was intended to help get skilled tradespeople mostly into the classroom to teach primarily CTE courses. Representative Hardaway.
All right, and would there be any difference in the pay?
No, sir. They would be paid based on their local education agency's pay scale, just like any other educator.
All right. Thank you. Any further questions from our committee? Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead.
On background checks, and is there any compromise on that?
No, sir. They have the exact same background check requirements as all other educators.
And they can be renewed annually,
Yes, sir.
no limit?
Oh, on the limited occupational license, it has a validity period of 3 years.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Representative Clemens, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to be clear. This is allowing these teachers with these emergency license to teach classes that had end of course exams for which those schools are held accountable. Is that correct? The Department of Education.
That's a separate part of the statute that was passed. Yes, sir.
But that's part of this rule.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Any further questions from our committee? Any public comments? All right. Do I have a motion? Got a motion to have second? All right. Got a motion second. No objection to the vote. We'll take the voice vote in the House first. All in favor of the House, please say aye. And opposed? All right. You want to be recorded? We got that. All right. I think we got it. Thank you very much. And we'll take a roll call voice vote in the Senate.
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes nay. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose votes aye.
Okay. We'll move out with a positive recommendation from the House and no recommendation from the Senate. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. James. I believe you are up next with the State Board of Education Rule Number 2. You may proceed. Tell us again who you are for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Nathan James with the State Board of Education. We're on page 29 of the accountability hearings of your rule packet. So TCA 49-3-112 authorized the State Board of Education to call for a hearing for an LEA that operates a public school or a public charter school that receives a D or F letter grade to report on the school's performance and how spending decisions may have affected its performance goals. Following an accountability hearing, the State Board may recommend that the Tennessee Department of Education impose a corrective action plan or conduct an audit and investigation of the LEA or public charter schools' academic programming and spending. The rule details the selection process for LEAs and public charter schools that will be called for a hearing, selection notification, hearing procedures, and corrective action that the state board may recommend. It further requires that the department report on the outcomes of a recommended corrective action plan to the State Board of Education. In June 2024, the State Board staff began drafting the rule and consulted multiple stakeholders for feedback, including educators, directors of schools, school leaders, LEA leaders, legislators, Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents, the Tennessee School Boards Association, SCORE, and the Tennessee Charter School Center. State Board staff also presented updates on the development of these rules at Tennessee School Board Association's annual convention in November 2024, to their Law Institute in July and August of 2025, the Organization of School Superintendents Legislative Conference in February 2025, and through Superintendent Study Council meetings for the last 2 years. That's meeting with superintendents all over the state to get their input on this process. We also held a public rulemaking hearing on the 2nd of May at 500 James Robertson Parkway. We had no public comments received. Happy to take questions and to further discuss.
All right, thank you for that, for those rules you presented. We are on page 23, not 29. Are there any
That, my mistake.
no problem. Any questions from our committee panel? Representative Clemens and then Senator Oliver. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question about this part about determining how spending positions may have affected performance goals that are arbitrarily set by the state of Tennessee to create these grades. Is this rule going to allow a bunch of unelected bureaucrats in Nashville to tell a local education agency how to do its job and how to spend its money?
The rule contemplates the hearing process required by the General Assembly. It has a committee of the State Board of Education composed, in this case, of Dr. Ina Maxwell, who is a former superintendent of Cumberland County Schools, Mr. Bob Eby, who is a former chairman of Oak Ridge School District, and Mr. Darrell Cobbins, representing the 9th Congressional District as that committee, and it will be chaired by Mr. Darrell Cobbins. Their options are to recommend to the Department of Education the imposition of a corrective action plan, or to request the department to engage in a investigation and audit. And both of those things are explicitly authorized and required by the statute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, you've got about 4 counties represented on this board. So that leaves about 91 counties and well over 100 other LEAs that they have no experience with. Are these unelected bureaucrats going to tell these LEAs and other counties how to do their job based on how they spent their money? Are they going to tell them how to spend their money better than they know how?
I would say, Representative, that these board members who've been confirmed by votes of both houses in this General Assembly will make the recommendations that I outlined previously, which are recommending to the Department of Education to impose a corrective action plan or an investigation and audit pursuant to their requirements under the law passed by the people's representatives.
Sounds like a yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. You made the distinction to anyone between LEAs and public charter schools. So this in no way impacts private schools,
No,
whether
sir.
they take vouchers or not.
No, sir. This, again, this law is a part of the TISA Act. It does not speak to private schools. And I did say public charter because that's the kind of the full and appropriate way to refer to a charter school.
Okay. Are there private charter schools?
Not that I know of. I don't know of any in Tennessee. I don't know if there are any in other states.
All right.
But,
And I'm asking that for the benefit of the public.
yeah,
Uh,
there are no.
All right. When we're looking at the sequence of you got a D and then you get a F or you get two Fs,
Right.
why are we waiting? Isn't that whole the whole purpose is to get to the child as soon as possible with corrective action for the LEA or the charter?
And you say,
So
why are we waiting? In
Why
other
wait a
words,
whole nother year?
So you can if you like, and I'll follow up, but that's fine.
Rachel Supay, General Counsel for the State Board of Education. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, can you repeat it one more time? I apologize.
I'm trying to figure out why, if you get a F 1 year, then that ought to be enough to kick in additional resources with an evaluation and the help.
Thank you. For
So
repeating
why
that.
are we waiting 2 years?
Sure. And the TISA statute outlines our authority to conduct these hearings. And in statute, it does specifically say that the state board is authorized to call schools that receive a D or an F. So that is our mandate in the law. I will say that a number of these schools are already on, multiple turnaround plans or corrective action plans. They're not ignored by the state until they get to the hearing. There's already interventions taking place. And this is to hold a public dialogue on if additional interventions are needed.
And public dialogue means that all of these hearings would be public.
That's right. Anyone who would like to attend is allowed to attend, and folks may make public comment in accordance with our public comment rule.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. I yield.
You're welcome. Representative Parkinson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said this was pursuant to the TISA Act. Am I correct? And what TISA is defined as what?
The Tennessee Investment and Student Achievement Act. It's the funding formula for K-12 education, and this portion of the law was placed on by the House Education Committee.
Right. And the TISA Act is the funding formula for public education. And
Yes, sir.
now the private schools, are they not receiving TISA money?
Through they're receiving funds through the appropriations made for that program. However, this rule is dealing with what's required under that act, and it's specifically for public schools and public charter schools. So it's not an area that we can, that there's any room to deviate on.
And I appreciate that, but I'm just trying to wrap my arms around the delineation if TISA funding, as you defined, is funding for public schools and private schools are receiving a portion of that TISA funding. How are they not part of the same governance under this legislation?
The issue and the point that you're raising is one which I would recommend you raise with your colleagues. This is when you pass a statute that tells the State Board of Education that you're going to take on a particular task and you're going to do so with public schools. That's where our mandate is to execute that law. But I see where you're coming from, but that's the way it was explained to me when I first started working at the legislature when I was 20 years old. Is there's this old 17 and 50 rule, and that's up to 17 senators and 50 House members, and we're going to stick to the rule and the law. When it's passed for us to do a thing, we're going to stick to that law and do our best to perform that function with fidelity.
I understand. So basically the legislation was written wrong. Counselor, you got any comments on
I
that?
didn't say that.
Okay.
We're getting into We're there, we don't need to get in what's written
Yeah.
wrong. You can take that
Yes.
up during your
Yes, sir.
next session, please. So
Thank you,
let's
Mr.
move on.
Chairman, I was making the point that if, because, the point was made that this governance came from the TISA legislation. And so my point is that if this governance came from the TISA legislation, which is what funds both, public charter and private schools now, then why are the private schools not in under this governance? That's the point I'm trying to make, Mr. Chairman, and my senator, if.
Yes, sir.
sir.
And I appreciate where you're going with it, but it's Mr. James explained, the way the law was written is one that the House, your body, I'm sure you probably didn't vote for it, but your House put on there,
Mhm.
and they are just applying the rules based on the legislation that the House placed on to get the TISA funding
Gotcha.
approved. So that's kind of how that's going. So-
I get it. Thank you. And Counselor, you said you look like you want to add to that.
Thank you. Rachel Supay, General Counsel. I did just want to clarify, I'm not aware of any private schools in Tennessee that receive TISA funds, and they also don't receive letter grades. The letter grade statute does specifically talk about public schools in Tennessee.
Counselor, the funding that is going to the private schools, is it not coming out of the TISA pool at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I will call on the department in case they have other information, but to my knowledge, they don't
You're-
receive TISA funds.
You're recognized.
Yes, sir. The funding for the Education Freedom Scholarship is a separate appropriation. None of that is any TISA dollars. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and I appreciate that clarification because the whole time I was thinking, we do not, TISA funding does not go to private schools in the sentence. It just doesn't do it. But your Education Freedom Scholarship does. So Representative Hardaway, I appreciate your questions and I think they're really quick. You got one more? All right.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'm your constituent. Secondly, my name is Representative Parkinson.
Well, he stood up and that it's kind of, I apologize to you, my friend. Hope you're still my friend. All right. Any other questions from our committee? From the public? See, got a motion, got a second? Any objection to the vote? Let's take a voice vote in the House. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? And a roll call vote in the Senate, please, ma'am.
Senator Bowling? Votes aye. Senator Crow? Votes aye. Senator Hatcher? Votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Oliver? Votes aye. Senator Seal? Senator Sutherland? Senator Jackson? Chairman Rose?
Aye.
Votes aye.
Do we have-
So it again moves out with a positive recommendation and no recommendation from the Senate.
Moves forward with a positive recommendation from the House. We do not have a quorum in the Senate, so we'll move on to the next item, which is, whoop.
No, it's no recommendation.
Oh, excuse me. No recommendation in the Senate then, correct? Now we got it. All right. Let's move on to the next item, which Mr. James, I believe you're up on the State Board of Education, Special Education Programs and Services. So again, tell us who you are, who you're with, and you are recognized.
Oliver voted yes. I thought she voted no. I did too.
Okay, let me make a correction. Senator Oliver, I understand you voted yes on that as well. Is that correct? So we did have a quorum in the Senate voting for that. So it moves forward from both the Senate and the House for positive recommendation. Now let's move on to the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Nathan James with the State Board of Education. And let's see, we are on, I think, page 37. Yes, all right. We're on the Special Education Functional Behavior Assessments and Behavior Intervention Plans Rule. The State Board of Education Rule 05200109 governs the provision of Special Education and Related Services in Tennessee. In 2022, the State Board promulgated rules requiring LEAs to conduct a functional behavior assessment and develop or revise behavior intervention plan in certain circumstances, including when the student exhibits a pattern of behaviors that impede the learning of others or place the student or others at risk of harm. Since that time, the Department of Education has consistently received feedback from local education authorities about the challenges in educating students with disabilities who are presenting significantly dangerous and disruptive behaviors. The rule clarifies that a student's IEP team may adjust the student's least restrictive environment without first developing an FBA, which is the Functional Behavior Assessment, or a BIP, which is a Behavior Intervention Plan, if the student demonstrates a pattern of behavior that threatens their safety or the safety of other students. We held a rulemaking hearing on the 24th of July, 2025 to collect public feedback. And we did get 5 written comments that were timely submitted, and I'll go through each of them. Several commenters requested that the rule require LEAs to collect behavioral data in the student's previous educational environment before a student is moved to a more restrictive environment. No changes were made to the rule in response to this comment, since prior to moving a student to a more restrictive environment, the IEP team must already have that data. So it was already included there. That data demonstrating the student cannot be educated in a less restrictive environment, even with the use of supplementary aids and services. We had several commenters requested the student's parent be provided an opportunity to offer input in the functional behavior analysis. Our rules revised, we did revise the rule language to clarify that only the student's IEP team, which includes the parents, is authorized to amend a student's least restrictive environment. The language of that was a little bit more passive before, but it was spelled out to make it clear. One commenter requested that the student's board certified behavior analyst be involved in the FBA if the child is receiving services or support. No changes were made in response to this comment. The State Board of Education rule already requires that the FBA be led by a school psychologist, a licensed behavior analyst, or other school personnel trained to conduct the assessment if the student is being served or supported by a BCBA. The analyst could participate in the functional behavior assessment process. That's the FBA. One commenter proposed the addition of time frames for completion of the functional behavior assessment, such as 60 days. No changes were made in response to this comment. The Individuals with Educational IDEA Act, the Disabilities Education Act, the Individual Disabilities Education Act. I try to make sure all of these are spelled out beforehand. I apologize. Does not establish a time frame for LEAs to complete the reevaluation. But the U.S. Department of Education has stated in guidance that a reevaluation must be completed within a reasonable amount of time based on the circumstances so that the LEA can promptly revise the student's individual education plan to address the student's changed needs. If the parents of a student with a disability believe the reevaluation has not been conducted within a reasonable amount of time, the family can utilize the special education dispute resolution options. So with that, happy to take questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Any comments, questions from our committee? Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Faison. I've got a constituent that has a young man in elementary school, and there was a lot of confusion about something he said that was taken as a threat against individuals in the school. Without getting into the details of that for obvious reasons, my concern is whether these rules address that time, you made mention of whether there's a set time frame by which the IEP could be reevaluated and reset. Would that same time frame apply to that type of situation?
You're talking about when the school system is going through the threat assessment to determine whether the threat is a serious one or?
Yes, and
Okay.
I'm going to ask you also whether under current rules and statute, whether the threat assessment team is required to have a psychologist or a similar professional
Yeah, definitely. So
from the very beginning.
I'm lucky enough that our general counsel has spent a career in this field and has more knowledge on this than I have, although I've got two kids who have gone through the IEP process and a wife who's a special ed teacher. So with that, we're going to yield to our general counsel and let her offer some perspective.
You're recognized. Go ahead.
Rachel Supay, General Counsel. I do want to clarify that if a student with a disability made a threat and the school was proposing to discipline that child through the use of, exclusionary discipline, the school would have to first conduct a manifestation determination review to ensure that the behavior in question, in this case a threat, is not a manifestation of the child's disability. And if the team determines that it is a manifestation, under most circumstances, no discipline can be issued. An MDR has to be conducted within 10 days. So it would be an expedited process in order to make that determination.
All right, this has gone on for about 3 weeks, and the next step, according to my constituent, is an appointment after Thanksgiving. And I just can't understand how that's in the child's best interest. So when we're looking at how those situations are handled, is there a time frame certain for each step? Each step being when the assessment team is formed, then the subsequent steps. And if at any point during those steps, can there be an appeal to the state, or do you have to exhaust the local administrative steps?
Sure. Each district must have its own threat assessment policy. To the best of my recollection, I don't believe there's a requirement in state law about the time frame in which it must be conducted, but I do know that they're done as expeditiously as possible, especially with a student with a disability where there's an obligation to provide a free, appropriate public education. I'm happy to connect with you, as I'm sure the department would be, to help the constituent in any way. We're happy to provide any guidance to the district that may be useful.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, I'll connect later and take this further. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. I think it's very appropriate, and you take care of your constituents. So appreciate the department being willing to step in and help out. All right, any other questions from our committee? From the public? Got a motion? Got a second? Got motion second? No objection to the vote. We'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk?
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose.
Aye. And let's take a voice vote in the House, please. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? Okay, it moves forward with positive recommendation from both the Senate and the House. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. James, I believe you've got one more, or do you want to continue on through the day? Is this it? If not, tell us who you are and who you're with and why you're here. Thank you.
I'm Nathan James. I'm with the State Board of Education. And let's see, I think we're on page 52 of our rule packet. I hope I'm right on that one. Yeah, okay. So we're on the Academic and Instructional Requirements Graduation Requirements Rule 05200103 -0.06. TCA 49-1302A6 requires the board to promulgate rules for graduation requirements in kindergarten through 12 in accordance with 49.6.10.10B. The State Board of Education graduation requirements rule requires a high school student pursuing a traditional high school diploma to receive at least 1 credit of computer science education in high school. To ensure alignment between the traditional high school diploma requirements and the alternate academic diploma requirement, this item proposes revisions to clarify that a high school student pursuing an alternate academic diploma must receive at least 1 credit of computer science education in high school, although the course, of course, may be modified based on the student's individual needs. The State Board held a public rulemaking hearing on this matter on 24 July 2025. On WebEx as well as in person. No public comments were submitted regarding the proposed revisions, but 74 public comments were received regarding the rule. Those comments urged the State Board not to eliminate a related provision on world language graduation that's housed in the same rule, but wasn't affected in any way by this revision. So the State Board of Education made no revisions to the rules in response to those comments, as the rule revisions did not propose elimination of the world language requirement. So just as the computer science credit is in the regular diploma, it's also in the alternate diploma with appropriate modifications. With that, happy to take questions.
All right, Mr. James, thank you again. Any questions from our committee? Seeing none, questions or comments from the audience? All right, we have a motion for positive recommendation. Have a second? All right, we have a motion second. No objection vote. We'll take a voice vote in the House. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Senate, let's do a roll call vote, please, ma'am.
Senator Bowling? Votes aye. Senator Crow? Votes aye. Senator Hatcher? Votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Oliver? Votes aye. Senator Seal? Senator Sutherland? Senator Jackson? Chairman Rose?
Aye.
Votes aye.
All right. Moves forward with positive recommendation in both Senate and the House. For the board and the department, thank you both for being here. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Appreciate you being here. All right. The next item on our agenda is the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. And we'll ask those folks to come up, tell us who you are and who you're with, and you may proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lou Hanneman with the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, and now, as of this past year, the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation is now a division of that agency. I'm joined by Peter Abernathy, who is the director of our scholarship programs and financial aid bureau in our agency. We have before you, I think, beginning on page 68 of the rules packet, a rule for the Future Teacher Scholarship Program. There were updates made in public chapter 488 of this current year to make some adjustments to that program. One, to be more in keeping with other similar loan forgiveness programs that we've had in the past, but also to facilitate additional uptake. The original uptake out of this program was pretty slow, so we hope that these modifications might help to encourage more students to participate. Some of the changes that were made in the statute and now reflected in this updated rule is removing freshmen and sophomores from eligibility and moving towards a junior, senior, and post-baccalaureate eligibility. Similarly, it does reduce the service requirement from 4 years to 2 years in exchange for that financial aid. It does also reduce the award amount. It was tuition and fees and is now down to a flat $3,500 per year, split evenly between the 2 semesters. Also, it does eliminate the requirement that the participants be HOPE eligible throughout the duration of their participation in the program. And there were other modifications simply for language, purposes. With that, I'm sorry, there was a rulemaking hearing held on August 4th. There were no members of the public who attended nor public comments submitted.
Mr. Tackman, thank you so much for your presentation. Any questions from our committee? Yes, sir. Representative Clemens, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the change in the award from the last dollar amount down to that flat fee, is that, what's the average payout been? Do we know the answer to that, to the recipients of this?
So to be candid, the first year we had 3 participants. And it is the last dollar, so it's after Hope scholarships and federal financial aid and such. So I think the award was maybe $3,000 or $4,000.
So these students are going to be receiving on average less or more with this flat 3,500 per year?
It is conceivable that students could receive less, but given the students who were already in the pipeline, this is in keeping with what they were receiving. So we had such a low take-up rate that we really don't have a body of, examples to compare it to.
And do we have a reason for that low take-up rate? I mean, has this been advertised? What's the reason for that, and what are we doing to address that?
Yes, sir. It was pretty well advertised, and we certainly have conversations with all the post-secondary institutions. Honestly, I think it's the promissory aspect of this. In exchange for this financial aid, you have to commit to a year of service in either a distressed county or a distressed or a shortage area for. I'm saying that very clearly. You either teach in a shortage area, meaning it's a specific field for which we don't have enough teachers, or a distressed county. And that's the point where the number of applicants drop precipitously down to, 1 or 2 people taking the program up.
Now, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you don't mind, refresh my memory, the requirement for the 4 years down to the 2 years, that year requirement, is that years of teaching or years of teaching in that distressed county or that high needs subject area?
It's for each year of receipt of the award now. It is a year of service in that shortage area or in that distressed county.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that question. Any further questions from our committee? Oh, Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
No,
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing how about from our audience? Any questions, comments? All right, we'll entertain a motion. Got a motion, second. No objections to vote. We will take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling. Votes aye. Senator Crow. Votes aye. Senator Hatcher. Votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose.
Aye. And
Votes
we'll
aye.
take a voice vote in the House. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? All right, it moves forward with a positive recommendation from both the Senate and the House. Thank you so much for being here. Ms. Baggett, I believe you are up. My math is not real good, but you got somewhere close to 170 pages to go through. So if you don't mind, do some speed reading for us. Tell us what's going on. Tell us who you are and who you're with, please, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chairman. I'm Callan Baggett. I'm Assistant Commissioner with the Department of Human Services. I'm joined by Becca Parkhurst, our Deputy General Counsel, and Paige Foster, our Legislative Liaison. And I will embrace my inner East Tennessean and talk as fast as I can. So we have brought our comprehensive child care rule amendment to you all today for your consideration. These rules were filed as rulemaking hearing rules on March 25th, 2025. And rulemaking hearings were held on May 16th, 2025 in Nashville in person and virtually statewide with members from both the Licensing Standards Committee and the public in attendance. And if I can take a quick moment to say thank you to our Licensing Standards Committee who helps us identify rule changes that are needed. This is a 9-person board that is created and has different representation from across the state of actual child care providers, helping advise us on what needs to change. And then also the many providers who provided public comment. I think and I hope that you all see that this process is very collaborative with our child care providers and that DHS views them as partners in this. And so I hope you all can see that reflected in our rules before you today. Rulemaking comments were received, and as a result of those changes were made to the rules before the final rules were sent to the AG's office for review and approval. These rules were then filed as a final rulemaking hearing rules on August 22nd and are slated to become effective November 20th. I'm going to provide just a couple highlights and then I'll try to move fast, like you said. We did add a definition to mirror what the General Assembly passed 2 years ago with the school safety for armed security guards at a childcare if a childcare chooses to hire one. We added in requirements for sexual abuse molestation insurance. These rules were brought before you all last year, and we ultimately pulled them at the last minute and worked with CPO to find a much more reasonable policy coverage required by Central Procurement Office. And so we have the amounts in this set of rules are now $100,000 per occurrence and $300,000 in the aggregate. We updated a number of definitions throughout our code, including and throughout our rules, including name to face roll call, and provided some clarification on that. We added extended care. We removed extended care hours and added the term non-traditional hours in its place. We added a definition for practicum students to the rules that appears in code but was not in our rules. We added to the definition of serious incident that if there is a child left unsupervised in certain settings and results in imminent harm, that is now an added definition. We clarified the successful completion of the provisional license period, including receipt of 4 in-person monitoring visits satisfactory to the department. These are 2 unannounced and 2 announced. We added in some requirements about the child care's individual policy regarding shaken baby syndrome, abusive head trauma, and child maltreatment be given to the parents. We added in some fire inspection exceptions to before school or after school programs, which we've worked with the State Fire Marshal's office on. And then, like I said, we did clarify that to receive the QRIS bonus, the child care must have 4 monitoring visits in each federal fiscal year in order to receive that quality rating improvement bonus. I am going to stop there, and I'm ready for any questions if you all have them.
Ms. Baggett, thank you so much for that synopsis of the 131 pages, not 175. Any questions from our committee? Representative Clemens, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is regards to the primary educator qualifications. This around page 173. We eliminate the requirements for training sessions, orientation sessions, various developmental training sessions, and training with regard to poison prevention, first aid, CPR, a whole list of things here. And I don't see that replaced anywhere else in the code. I know that we have allowed for at least one person a grace period according to the summary, but why are we eliminating all that required training for the primary educator, and how's that being addressed otherwise?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. And I did leave out in my speed reading, one important fact that is in .06, which will be back before you in the next 90 days, as there was a typographical error found in that. It referenced 2G instead of 3G. So we've had to withdraw that section of the rules. And I believe the research analyst has a copy of that withdrawal. I'll be happy to talk about that. And I might defer to Rebecca Parkhurst to also address that. But those will be before you at a later date. And I forgot to mention that.
So that whole section is withdrawn.
.06 was withdrawn because we put 2G instead of 3G.
It's better than 5G. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Clemens, and I understood that will be added back you at a later date.
Yes, sir. We will come see you again with that whole chunk of rules and talk to you about it then.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions from our committee? Yes, sir. Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Probably been a whole day since I talked to you. When we're looking at the insurance, the 100,000 K and 300,000 aggregate, is that just random, or is that based upon the cost factor to the daycare, or?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. And like I said, these rules have received a lot of opportunities to be before the public. We had them filed to bring before you all in October of 24 and pulled them the night before committee, because at that time, the insurance threshold that had been set in rule in consultation with Central Procurement Office, we started receiving pushback from providers of saying, I've contacted my insurance broker and I can't afford this. And so we pulled those rules at the last minute, and appreciate y'all's grace in that, and went back to the table with Central Procurement Office, who does advise the state departments on risk, and worked with them to find a much more affordable and reasonable expectation of coverage. And that's generally how the process worked. And, they advise state agencies across the board. We see it in all of our programs that have grantees that take state dollars, same thing. So that was the agreed upon amount. And then as we move forward with these rules coming into effect, our child care team will work with Central Procurement. And while we would never endorse or push a person to a policy, if somebody comes to us and says, I can't find that type of policy or I can't afford that, we're going to have some resources available to them to help them find the appropriate amount of coverage.
All right, and I can't remember the details, but I know that we've done some legislation on risk pools is for small businesses and not so small businesses. Is that possible for the daycare industry? And have y'all looked at that?
We'll be happy to talk with you about that if that's something that you wanted to pursue in session or anything like that. But we'll be happy to talk to you about that.
Okay, because Mr. Chairman, my concern is that there's a delicate balance between the needs of the child and, of course, the parent or caregiver, and the actual ability for a provider to operate. But at the end of the day, if we're going to err, we need to err on the side of the child. I just don't see putting especially 300,000 aggregate figure for a child who's been sexually abused or worse. So I'd like to visit with you on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Hardaway. Good question, good comments. Senator Oliver, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a pretty hefty list of changes to the rules and licensure. What steps are y'all taking to make sure that providers in the state know about these rules? Are there going to be some trainings or orientations to make sure people are aware of this?
Yeah, I'll defer to Becca Parker, so she's the one who does these trainings, and she's really the expert.
Good
You're
afternoon.
recognized.
Rebecca Parkhurst, Deputy General Counsel for the Department of Human Services. I appreciate the question. We actually have 3 virtual sessions we will be offering very shortly after the rules go into effect tomorrow. I will be hosting those personally December 8th, 9th, and 10th statewide. So the providers will have a session that I am hosting on all of those rules because I help craft the rule changes with the providers. So those will be offered statewide for all providers to be able to attend in the evening when they are out of having children in attendance at the daycare session, and then one during nap time in the afternoon when most children and are down for naps and directors can actually participate. So we're going to offer 3 different opportunities for those. And then in January, we're going to offer regional in-person sessions for all childcare providers. We will have all of our licensing consultants available statewide, go out in each of the different regions and provide those in person along with an attorney from the Department of Human Services who can answer any legal questions that those providers might have. As well, each of the providers has kind of been walking through these with us hand in hand. They helped us actually develop these rule changes. I was personally involved in helping meet with the providers, ask them for input on the rule changes, get their feedback on them. For example, the sexual abuse and molestation insurance requirements originally were $1 million and $3 million, respectively, for the individual amount and the aggregate amount. And the reason we pulled those back last year is because we listened to the providers. The providers said, if you put this insurance amount in front of the committee, in a couple of days from now, we can't continue to afford to operate and care for children. And we heard that. And we heard that, while we need to protect the children, we also need to make sure our providers can afford to operate and care for these children appropriately and safely. So we have worked with them the whole time. They're well aware of what the changes are. They haven't changed much from what we actually were going to put in front of you guys last year. So we're going to continue to give them as much training as possible. We'll have it both in virtual and an in-person format and be able to answer questions as they continue to work through this. And then our LCs are going to be working with them to give sort of hands-on technical guidance and information as they see what we would think of would be a legal citation, right, for something new in the rules. They wouldn't necessarily cite them immediately, with like a civil penalty or a legal corrective action the first time they see something that is happening in these new rules. Immediately upon their effective date, they would give them technical, sort of guidance first and say, hey, we saw this. This is new in the rules. Let me help you figure out how to do it correctly, and give them that information, kind of help lead them through this, because we really want them to operate in compliance.
Right. So I've been doing some calls with in-home providers last couple of months, and so they've been pretty vocal about making sure the licensing rules don't add any additional cost to their business. And so is anything on this list going to provide or mandate any out-of-pocket costs that they're already not doing right now?
The only thing I can see that would add out-of-pocket cost is that insurance component. All of the other requirements that are in here, and I can go back and review them specifically and get back to you on that. But out of all of the other requirements, the only one that I can see that would have an out-of-pocket additional cost component would be that insurance requirement.
Okay. And do you have those dates ready already, the virtual dates that I can get?
Sure, I can
You
give
get
those to you
those
again.
now.
It's December 8th, 9th, and 10th. We are getting ready to publicize those. I'm setting up the registration links as we speak. I was actually messaging back and forth with our technical people in-house before we came up to testify, because we are getting ready to send out the registration links statewide to all providers in an email blast so they can sign up for those. But yes, we can provide you with those and with the registration links as well. Anyone can attend them. You don't have to be a provider. You can be, an interested partner who just wants to attend those trainings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Good questions. Any other questions from our committee? Yes, sir. Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And you stirred another question for me. Do the parents get notification of these rules that are proposed, rule hearings?
So that would be between the child care provider and the parent to share the updates. I have a friend group who I made the joke to some of y'all. We've had a baby in our friend group every 2 months for this year, and I'm bankrupt from meal trains and baby showers. And so I can tell you that my friends have called me and asked about, what does this rule mean? My provider's telling me this, and how do I operate with this? So I think that the child care providers do a great job of communicating with their parents of changes coming down the pike, why something is the way it is, but that would be between the child care provider and the parent.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, we might want to look at this to where the parents or the guardians have an option of tuning in to and giving responses to these proposed rules before we get them. And I don't know what that needs to look like. Might be something as simple as sending something home.
They have that opportunity now to do so.
Yeah, these are public hearings, so they can do that.
Well,
Right.
not merely the opportunity, but the notification, so they can take advantage of the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, sir. Representative Clemens, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to follow up. I'm very mindful of the cost on child care providers and wanting to limit the cost there because we have too few, and there's child care deserts across the state of Tennessee. However, I've had the unfortunate experience of representing a child who was assaulted in a similar type of setting. $300,000 is very, very low. I'll just tell you, when you're talking about lifelong mental health care and all those types of things that come along with that and the impact on the family. So I'm curious, how did the $300,000 amount get chosen?
Becca may want to add to this, but this was in consultation with Central Procurement Office and their risk management team. And then they also have a contract with a insurance risk advisor, I guess would be the proper name of the business, that advises on risk. And so that was a ongoing conversation with our child care team. Some providers were involved in that and Central Procurement.
Okay. I want us to be mindful of that. That is I understand the cost and I understand the ramifications of that and the burden of such a policy, but I will just, that is a very, that raises a lot of question marks and concerns for me personally, and I'm apparently my colleague as well. So I think we might need to revisit that. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Clemens. And I think, just to follow up on what you said, I don't think you could put a price on the cost to a family or to the victim. There's no way. So again, thank you for your comments. Any other questions or comments from our committee? From the audience? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Got a motion and positive and a second for positive recommendation. We'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. First, please, Madam Clerk, please do so.
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose
Aye.
votes aye.
Voice vote in the House, all in favor, please. Voice vote in the House, all in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Wish to be recorded right there. All right. Okay. Got two to be recorded. All right. Moves forward with a positive recommendation. Thank you so much for being with us and for your presentation. I believe Ms. Williamson, you are up next. Oh, well, there you go. Not Ms. Williamson. Tell us who you are, who you're with, and you may proceed with your presentation. Thank you. You're on.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Committee. My name is Emma Ousley, and I am the Assistant Director of Legislation at TDEC. With me today, I have Mr. James Johnston and Dr. Michelle Oakes with our Division of Air Pollution Control. TDEC's Division of Air Pollution Control is repealing rules that were identified through the retrospective rule review as out of date, redundant, or as superseded by more recent federal regulations as follows. Rule 1200-03-07-0.06 is proposed for repeal as the designation of new stationary source standards by the Environmental Protection Agency is covered by the incorporation by reference of federal standards in Chapter 0400-30-39. Chapter 1200-03-25 has been superseded by current federal regulations and is proposed for repeal. 40 CFR Part 60 Subpart EC, which is the standards of performance for new stationary sources for hospitals, medical, and infectious waste incinerators, came into effect in 1997 and has been updated several times since. It applies to each individual hospital, medical, and infectious waste incinerator for which construction is commenced after December 1st, 2008, or for which modification is commenced after April 6th, 2010. Chapter 1200-03-25 has not been updated since 1988 and has thus been superseded by this updated federal standard. Rule 1200-03-27-.07 is proposed for repeal. The voluntary nitrogen oxide emissions reduction program described by this rule is not implemented by the department and has not been utilized by the regulated community. We respectfully request a positive recommendation on this rule and welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Ms. Ousley, thank you so much for your presentation. Representative Parkinson, you are recognized, also my constituent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Ousley, now what did you say?
I don't think any of you want me to repeat that.
I'm just kidding, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to give her a hard time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative McKenzie and then Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to be clear, all of the rescissions and deletions, they're being replaced by existing rules and not proposed rules, correct?
Right. So the first two, the rule 1200-03-07-.06, that one is already in the Code of Federal Regulations, so we don't need our own state rule for that. And then the second chapter after that I won't repeat the numbers, same thing, that is already in the Code of Federal Regulations, so we don't need our own rules for that. The last one is just, we don't need rules at all because the
It was
program.
voluntary.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Representative Fritz, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, how are y'all today? Just one quick question, and this is on page 224, vehicle emission standards, and it's on opacity of emissions, smoking vehicles. And so was that indeed replaced by another standard, what we're taking out?
James Johnson with the Deputy Director for the Division of Air Pollution Control. That is visible emission standards. So that's the smoke that would come out of these incinerators. And it has been replaced, this entire rule has been replaced by the rule that Ms. Ousley mentioned.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Rep. Fritz, appreciate that. Any other questions from our committee? Yes, sir. Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Any of these rules apply to gas turbines for AI facilities?
No, Representative Hardaway, they do not.
All right. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other questions from our committee? From the audience? All right, seeing none, entertain motion. Got a motion second for positive recommendation, no objection to the vote. We'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling? Votes aye. Senator Crow? Votes aye. Senator Hatcher? Votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Oliver? Votes aye. Senator Seal? Senator Sutherland? Senator Jackson? Chairman Rose?
Aye.
Votes aye.
All right, and a voice vote in the House. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Moves forward with a positive recommendation for the Air Pollution Control Board. Ms. Ousley, thank you so much for being here. And next we have the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. And if you will come forward. Mr. Wickler, good to see you. But you need to tell us, the audience, who you are and the public and who you're with, and you may proceed. Candace.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. My name is Reed Witcher. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Regulatory Boards of the Department of Commerce and Insurance. I'm joined by Roxana Gamusio, who's the Executive Director of the Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners, and Candace Dawkins, the Legislative Director for the department. The rules before you today were updated pursuant to the department's retrospective rule review and public chapters 865 and 1060 of 2024. The changes pursuant to the retrospective rule review update terminology and provide additional flexibility for licensees and instructors. Public Chapter 865 allows cosmetology and barber shops to sell alcohol. Public Chapter 1060 removed education requirements for cosmetologists and barbers and eliminated a mandatory reinstatement fee for barbers. We've updated these rules to reflect those statutory changes. The commission conducted a rulemaking hearing on April 7th, 2025. One public comment sought clarification on the allowance for alcohol sales. The other comment expressed concern about reducing the minimum square footage requirements for cosmetology schools. The board did not reach a consensus on this issue and elected to remove the square footage change from the rulemaking. So that second comment, the concerns that were expressed, that was removed from this rulemaking package. That's not a part of what you're reviewing today. With that, happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wickler. Appreciate that. Any questions from our committee? Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Do any of these rules address the client and the inebriated client, one that's under the influence and a little difficult to deal with?
The Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners is not tasked with acting as law enforcement. The oversight of sales falls under the ABC, and I think that scenario would probably fall under local law enforcement.
So if somebody has a little bit too much to drink and they won't be still and they get a WAP haircut, whose fault is it? I'll get that from you later. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Hardaway, thank you so much for that question. And I would be a possibility for sure. Any other questions from our board? Yes, sir. Representative Parkinson, my constituent, please, you're recognized.
Thank you to my senator. I just want to point out that the cosmetologists were already able to offer wine to their clients, and they've been doing it for years. right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is just, it allows barbers to do it now also, but they're able to serve alcohol under this.
That's
Thank you.
correct.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? From our audience, any questions? Seeing none, entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second for positive recommendation. We will entertain a vote. Let's do a voice vote in the House. All in favor in the House, please say aye. And opposed? Let's do a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose
Aye.
votes aye.
All right, this moves forward with a positive recommendation from the Senate and the House. Thank you for being here. Next item on our agenda is item number 9. That is on page 256, and this is the Department of Disability and Aging. And hello, Mr. Jones, welcome. But for the record, tell us who you are, who you're with, and if you want to recognize those with you, that'd be great as well. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Trey Jones, and I'm the Legislative Director for the Tennessee Department of Disability and Aging. Joining me today is Seth Wilson from our Office of General Counsel, as well as Ryan Hicks from our Office of General Counsel. In 2024, this legislature passed the Disability and Aging Act of 2024, which merged the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities with the Commission on Aging and Disability. As a result of that, we have identified through the retrospective review process pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 45213, 6 chapters to repeal today that were underneath the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability. Here we go. Those chapters are 0030-01-01 relative to definitions, 0030-01-03 relative to the commission organization and conduct of business, the third chapter is 0030-01-06 relative to background checks for new employees and volunteers. The fourth is 0030-01-07 relative to cost sharing for services for the elderly provided through Title III of the Older Americans Act. The fifth is 0030-01-10 relative to financial management standards and procedures. And the sixth is 0030-02-02 relative to the statewide Medicaid HTBS waiver for elderly and disabled adults. All of those rules, there were all the chapters that we're seeking to repeal are either in Title 52, which is where the new Disability and Aging Code is at, or they're currently federally required through the Older Americans Act. And then that last chapter I mentioned, that Medicaid HCBS waiver is administered by TennCare, and so they have that. I'm happy, that's my explanation. Happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Appreciate any questions from our committee, from our audience. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second for a positive recommendation. No objection to vote. We'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose votes aye.
Voice vote in the House. Excuse me, voice vote in the House. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? All right, moves forward with positive recommendation from the House and Senate. Mr. Jones and company, thank you for being here today. Appreciate your work. Next item is item 10, the Department of Finance Administration, starting on page 264. And if you folks will come forward, identify yourselves, tell us who you're with, and you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Joint Government Operations Committee. My name is Amanda Petrie, and I serve as an associate counsel for TennCare. With me today is Drew Staniewski, Deputy Director for TennCare, and also Dr. B, Deputy Chief Medical Officer for TennCare. TennCare has one item for your consideration today, item 10 on your agenda, starting on page 264 of your packet, amends TennCare's existing rules to benefit members by providing consistency in the amount of services and transparency in how medical necessity determinations are made for private duty nursing. Under state law, TennCare may only pay for services that are covered and determined by TennCare to be medically necessary. This includes the long-standing statutory criteria that it must be the least costly course of treatment that is adequate for the member's medical condition. Private duty nursing is an optional benefit that TennCare has chosen to provide to adults age 21 and older needing a certain high level of care. As of 2018, approximately half the states did not cover any private duty nursing for adults, and those states that do often consider cost or institute benefit limits. If an adult TennCare member qualifies to receive private duty nursing services, that individual can only receive an amount of private duty nursing up to the least costly way to meet their needs. These permanent rules amend TennCare Rule Chapter 1200-13-16, more specifically defines intellectual disability, intermediate care facility for individuals with intellectual disabilities, pre-admission screening, resident review, and private duty nursing services in Rule Chapter 1200-13-16-01 and incorporates those definitions throughout the rule chapter for consistency and clarity. These permanent rules also freeze or lock in the costs used to determine medical necessity, which will provide certainty and consistency to TennCare members. Without this proposed rules, members will see less private duty nursing hours because the cost of nursing continues to rise faster than the cost of institutional care. These permanent rules also clarify our existing process by explaining how the least costly setting is calculated for purposes of determining whether private duty nursing services are medically necessary for adult TennCare members. We conducted a public hearing for these permanent rules on June 23rd of 2025 and received comments from 14 interested parties. We appreciate the comments we received and responded to the interested parties in writing and made several changes to the rules to incorporate some of that feedback. Through the adult private duty nursing benefit, TennCare has served thousands of members at home and reduced the rate of institutionalization over the last 15 years. These rules changes serve to support these successful processes through increased clarity and transparency. TennCare will continue to support members to receive care in the community setting they desire, including private duty nursing, while still maintaining compliance with the state statutory requirements for medical necessity. We're happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Can you give us an instance of what would be considered non-medical necessity duties that may be tied to private nursing? And also, is there a reason, what was the catalyst for us creating this rule?
John Bandapati, Deputy CMO of TennCare. To answer the first question, an example of increased or greater than medical necessity would be, I'm going to back up before I answer that question. For an individual who is under 21, we don't necessarily apply that medical necessity definition to children, and that's because under EPSDT, which is early periodic screening, I'm going to forget the last two words. It basically is federal law that mandates we allow for families to request services and benefits for those children's needs. And so we might be authorizing 24/7 care in that example. When they turn 21, 24/7 care may not be necessary. That may have been requested to support monitoring, as an example, while the child is sleeping, so that should there be suctioning that's required overnight, there is a nurse available for that. However, with the medical necessity approach, after age 21, we do apply medical necessity and determine, are those same level of hours required to care for this individual? And therefore, that medical necessity from a clinical standpoint might say, a monitored, or for the sake of monitoring, a private duty nurse is not required, and therefore the true clinical hours that are necessary is less than 24/7. That is one prong of medical necessity.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but who makes that determination? Is it the doctor or is it someone else?
It's a combination. So we do have the order and the doctor's input. We also have home health agencies' input, and we also have our managed care contractors who do assessments in the home as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And the last question.
There it goes. Yeah. Thank you for the question. So in terms of the impetus for bringing the rule, I think there's really two reasons. We've been applying the least costly alternative medical necessity to private duty nursing for almost 2 decades now, but that a lot of that process has not been in rule. So I think number one is want to provide that transparency to everybody about how this process really works. I think the other thing that is really the impetus for this is the rate at which private duty nursing costs are going up. So if you think about that calculation, right, your numerator is going to be the cost of the facility that is adequate to meet their needs. The denominator is the cost of the nursing services. In the last few years in particular, the rate at which the nursing services, the denominator is going up is really accelerating much faster than the rate of the facility care. So our ability to freeze those rates for a few years will provide a lot more consistency to members in what their hours are and what their available hours are to be served at home through private duty nursing. So it's really that the way that the costs have shifted in the last few years that has led us to bring this rule.
All right, yes, sir, you're welcome. Any other questions from our committee? Yes, sir. Representative Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the least costly alternative course of diagnosis or treatment that is adequate for the medical condition of the enrollee, who makes that adequacy determination? Is it somebody in TennCare in an office building, or is it the doctor?
There is a definition of adequacy in TennCare rule. In addition to that, the decision for adequacy is determined by, again, the healthcare needs between the doctor and the assessments that are completed.
So is there a review process over whether or not the doctor's determination of adequacy is correct by someone in TennCare, or do you defer to the doctor?
It is combined with the MCO assessments as well.
Oh, so the MCO has a say. Yeah.
Yes, the MCO does perform assessments in addition to what the doctor's orders determine, and those assessments are done by assessments within the in-home of the individual themselves.
Yeah, those MCO assessments generally can drag out over time and create issues for the patient. So that's part of my concern. So for adequacy, medical adequacy is what we're looking at here. So that's going to be a determination by the medical provider. Then it's going to be reviewed by the MCO as to whether or not the doctor is correct, who's actually treating the patient, and then TennCare is going to make sure his adequacy determination complies with the statute as well. Is that correct?
I'm going to back up a little bit. So what I'm describing is how we apply our least costly alternative, which is one of the prongs of medical necessity, to our individuals who receive private duty nursing. And what that means is, as an individual is benefiting from private duty nursing as a child and they transition as an adult, we have to determine how many hours they may receive under the adult benefit. Our approach to that is what we're bringing transparency to, and that's included in the rules, to say we utilize the facility that may adequately meet their needs. So the question of adequacy here is there a facility that can adequately serve the needs of this individual? And if so, then the cost of that facility is what we use in the determination of how many PDN hours they may receive in the home. So we're not actually, the adequacy question is there a facility that can adequately meet their needs?
Okay, thank you.
But Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Yep.
You're talking about a facility, but this refers to a course of diagnosis or treatment, not the facility type. That's the type of adequacy I'm referring to here. So are we on the same page?
Yes. So in this individual, and if you want.
No.
In this individual who is receiving private duty nursing in their home, again, as they reach that age of 21, they may not receive the same number of hours that they were receiving as a child. In doing so, as we have to compare the cost, or as we approach that transition to the adult benefit, we're asking how many hours do they qualify for? That how we do our calculation is based on the cost of having them in a facility.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Representative Hardaway, and panel, if you don't mind, each time you respond, because there's 3 of you responding, identify yourself just for the public so they'll know who's speaking. Thank you so much. Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. The questions that I have are prompted by a couple of home health care agencies' interactions with United Healthcare. Is there, these rules, do they address the question of the response time to the healthcare provider, the home healthcare provider that's actually providing the skilled nursing?
Thank you for the question, Representative Hardaway. So I think to be clear, this is sort of the overall process of how we do the transition. So maybe this is getting what you're asking, but we actually, in the way we start this process, because it's such a significant change when you turn 21, we start the turning 21 process at actually age 18. So we have the MCO start reaching out to the family and describing sort of what is going to come when they turn 21. And then throughout that process, their regular check-ins, you start looking at the different types of plans of care that may be available to you, that kind of thing. So I would say from at least a family engagement standpoint, it starts well in advance. I don't know that I could speak to any specifics with regard to a specific provider that may be having trouble with an MCO in that process.
All right, so there's no obligation for the MCO to respond to the provider in a timely fashion, the home healthcare agency that's providing the skilled nursing.
There are federal requirements, sorry, John Abendapata, Deputy CMO. There are federal requirements which require that our MCO respond to a request, which would be a prior authorization request within 14 days. By statute, that is changing as of 1/1/26 to 7 days, and that is only for non-routine, non-expedited request. Expedited request must still be responded within 3 days, and that is not changing in 1/1/26.
All right, well, I certainly need to get with you on that. Let me better understand the cap for the adults. Do the child hours apply towards the accumulation of hours for the adult?
No, they do not.
Okay, so when you hit adulthood, it starts at 0. All right. And this is I'm going to share an example with you, Mr. Chairman, where I've got a frustrated constituent that just said point blank, without this care, we have 2 options: to readmit to the hospital, which has happened 3 times already since the process started, and the second option is death. So something ain't working for our constituents. And I need to get with you and figure out what's going wrong. And all of the complaints that I've received, the majority, overwhelming majority, are United Healthcare. Is that reflective of what you're receiving in terms of complaints?
Deputy Director, Drew Staniewski, Deputy Director of TennCare. Thank you for the question. So I don't know, I can't speak for Dr. B, but I don't have any specific complaints or like a record of complaints from United with regard to this process. I think one thing I just want to be super clear about is kind of how this process works at the time of transition. So if there is someone who, let's say they're on a ventilator and they may be receiving 24/7 nursing as a child, so they're under 21, and then they're transitioning to the adult benefit, it's very likely that they may be assessed and determined to go have the maximum amount of hours up to the cap. So that may be 16 hours. So you may see in terms of private duty nursing, you're going down from 24 to 16 hours a day. In addition, part of this process, these members are often almost always eligible for long-term care programs. So like choices and UCF choices. So then you can leverage those programs to create wraparound services that can effectively get you to 24 hours of hands-on care. The distinction is really there's 8 hours in there that is not private duty nursing specifically. So I just wanted to clarify that process and to the extent that's maybe what your constituent might be referring to. But we're happy to get with you to discuss the cases that you're referring to, make sure we're answering all your concerns.
All right, let me try to get clarity here. So you're saying that there is or is not a cap for total hours for adults?
Yes, there is you can get an amount of hours of private duty nursing up to a expenditure cap that would be the equal amount in the facility, the cost serving the facility.
And at that point, the option is to be reinstitutionalized or to stay at home and die.
So to be very clear, that I would say.
Please be very
yes,
clear.
And again, Drew Staniewski, Deputy Director at TennCare. We do not force anyone into an institution. So once an institution is identified, they have the option of either going into that institution or still receiving services at home. Again, it may look a little different than what they're used to, but in many cases, if you are someone with significant needs, you can still get 16 hours of nursing a day, as well as choices or ECF services wrapped around those 16 hours to essentially get you to almost 24 hours a day of hands-on care. So there are, and I guess to kind of add to that, we've had many families, thousands of families that have successfully transitioned from the child benefit to the adult benefit under that paradigm.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to wrap, but, and it's wonderful that we've had thousands that were successfully transitioned, but I have to fight for those who were not. And I'm receiving far too many calls, and the majority of them go back to United Healthcare. And for me to get a message that after 3 times being reinstitutionalized, that they look at that as an option, and the next option is death. And I've read it to you verbatim. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that we need to look into more. There's got to be a better way. Got to be a better way. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Hardaway. Any other questions from our panel committee? Chairman Crow, you're recognized.
Thank you. I don't remember this. I had a case that we were trying to pass legislation. I don't know, you may remember, was it Emma's? We were trying to, didn't that young lady, she had the 24-hour care, but then she went from 12 hours to 8 hours or something like that on a ventilator, but she still needed that round the 24-hour care. You remember that one? Yeah, you guys, I think Senator Representative Alexander had that bill. We really tried. Does this affect that somehow? How does this affect that? Because the parents obviously could not take care of her around the clock, and just those few hours that she got off the ventilator, but still needed that care, kicked her out of TennCare.
Yeah, sure. I would say the rule that we are referring to in terms of the approach to least costly alternative, it did apply and would apply to anyone who is receiving private duty nursing in their home as a child and then transitioning to the adult benefit. I'm just going to take a step back and talk about the history here. As Amanda initiated, PDN or private duty nursing is an optional benefit for our adults. And there was a point in our past where there was an unlimited number of hours that TennCare allowed for the adult benefit. And it was unsustainable. As a result, the cost of providing private duty nursing just for our adults were alone were rising over an annual rate of over 300% at a time. And it was a main driver of our uncontrolled costs at TennCare and impacting the state budget. So the application of least costly alternative and the application of medical necessity to private duty nursing and as an adult is what allows us to maintain financial sustainability. That said, to answer your question, yes, individuals who are receiving private duty nursing as a child and then transitioning to the adult benefit are going to be impacted by the least costly alternative, which says how many hours can we continue to support for you in the home now that you're over 21. That does not mean that we are forcing them to choose the option of the institution. As Drew indicated, there are a number of HCBS or choices and ECF choices options that are available to these individuals. And we approach the families well in advance of that turning of 21 to be able to support that transition in time. A number of our members actually transition beyond the age of 21 due to accommodations that TennCare continues to support them.
Thank you. I'm not sure I can vote for this. Thank you.
You're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Crow, I just wanted to add to your specific question. My recollection of that bill is it's really about the eligibility for private duty nursing, which isn't addressed here. That is staying the same. This is more geared towards the application of how you determine the hours rather than whether or not you're eligible for the service in the first place. So just to clarify that.
Chairman Crow, did that get your, okay, thank you so much. Any other questions from our committee? From our audience? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Got a motion, have a second? Got a motion, second for positive recommendation. No objection to the vote. We'll take a voice vote in the House. All in favor of the House, please say aye. And opposed? Okay. You want to be recorded, Representative? You got it. All right. And a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling. Votes aye. Senator Crow. Votes aye. Senator Hatcher. Votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver. Votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose.
Aye.
Votes aye.
All right. Thank you. This rule moves forward with a positive recommendation from the House and Senate. Next on our agenda is item 11, begins on page 276, and this is Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. I think you all know the drill. You've been here for 2 hours now, but tell us who you are, who you're with, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. I'm Angela Jackson. I'm with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. With me today, I have Dr. Wes Gimmon. He is our chief pharmacist, as well as the State Opioid Treatment Authority with the department. The rules before you today are the department's controlled substances schedule rules. As you may recall, 39-17-403 requires the department to revise and republish.
Oh,
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. As you may recall, TCA 39-17-403 requires the department to revise and republish these schedules annually. In doing so, we consider the actions the DEA has taken with the federal controlled substances schedules, as well as input from other state agencies such as the Tennessee Department of Health and Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Since we undertake these rules annually, or this activity annually, these rules are developed as of a point in time. Any controlled substances that are added, deleted, or modified at the federal level after the filing date of these rules would then be considered when developing the future annual updates. Again, these rules are drafted in collaboration with Tennessee Department of Health, the Board of Pharmacy, and Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. We did hold a public hearing in June of this year, June 12th. We received no comments, oral or written. These rules would go into effect December 15th. And with that, we ask for a positive recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Representative Fritz, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. Just a quick question on page 300, and it's on the cannabimimetic substances or agents. I researched that a little bit. My question is this, and I won't spend a lot of time with it. It's a curiosity question as much as anything else. These all seem to be synthesized drugs. are they derivative of cannabis or are they produced to replicate cannabis?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'll let Dr. Gimmon answer.
Okay. Dr. Gemmon, Chief Pharmacist for the department, doctor in pharmacy, not technology, apparently. The cannabinoid agents are those that are meant to mime cannabis. So they're usually synthetically derived, but they work on the cannabinoid receptors in the brain. And not all of them that are synthetically derived have been known to contribute towards addiction and dependence. So those aren't scheduled. So the ones that are here have passed the 8-factor criteria needed to actually become a scheduled controlled substance. And all of these are consistent with what is federally scheduled.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rep. Trent. Any other questions from our committee? Senator Bowling, it's good to hear from you today. You've been mighty quiet. Are you okay?
I'm fair to middling.
All right, girl, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. When it's not synthetic, has there ever been an addiction to a cannabis?
Thank you. Dr. Gammon, Chief Pharmacist for the department. There have been incidences of dependence and addiction to even the natural, or what we would consider natural cannabis plant, excuse me, my pronunciation, that has occurred. I do need to mention that like any substance, everyone is wired to react to things differently. And so while some individuals may be able to enjoy recreational cannabis, some may have adverse or unintended effects even to the natural plant.
Okay. All the research that I was familiar with, there's never been an addiction to natural cannabis, nor has there ever been a death from the natural cannabis. I know when they start mixing and maxing, and I know that's the danger because people do put it in synthetics or just other things that are addictive because they're trying to get a market. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Bowling. Any other questions from our Representative Hardaway? You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the variants or derivatives of these synthetics, will these rules automatically add those to the schedules?
Dr. Gammon, Chief Pharmacist for the department. As those products become identified, we usually follow both the DEA and the FDA's recommendation when it's scheduled federally. Those agencies will schedule those substances year-round. We take a point in time every year where we look back and then add those to our schedules here in Rule. So as those are identified as needing to be scheduled, again, using that 8-factor criteria that they use, we would then basically adopt that into our rules once it becomes scheduled at the federal level.
So we're following the feds. We're never ahead of them.
Yes, that's right. So we will follow the federal schedule, especially with these rules before you today. They're all what has been scheduled federally.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions from our committee? Any questions or comments from our audience? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second? No objection to the vote. We'll take a voice vote in the House. All in favor in the House, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? In the Senate, a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling? Votes aye. Senator Crow? Votes aye. Senator Hatcher?
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Oliver? Votes aye. Senator Seal? Senator Sutherland? Senator Jackson? Chairman Rose?
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you. Moves forward with a positive recommendation for the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Thank you so much for being here. Next on our agenda is item 12, which is the Board of Osteopathic Examination, health-related boards, and if you folks will come forward. Once again, tell us who you're with, and you may proceed with your presentation.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Grayson Carter. I am Assistant Commissioner of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Health. With me today is Michael Varnell, who is the advisory attorney for the Board of Osteopathic Examination. The first rule we have before you today is item 12. These are the permanent rules following the emergency rules that were approved last meeting. These rules are necessary to effectuate Public Chapter 470 of 2023. The first rule being amended is 1050-02.02, adds a new subparagraph that establishes a fee for graduate physician license. This fee is the same as the initial licensure fee for the Board of Osteopathic Examination, which is $300. Rule 1050-02.24 is being added as a new rule. This rule establishes licensure procedures for graduate physicians. The rule specifies requirements for supervision, collaborative practice agreements, sets fees, and establishes other requirements necessary to protect the public. Rule 1050-02.24 is identical to Rule 088002.27 that establishes the same licensure procedure for graduate physicians for the Board of Medical Examiners. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carter. Appreciate that. Any questions from our committee? From our audience? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Got a motion for positive recommendation. Have a second. Got a second. No objection to the vote. All in favor of the moving forward with positive recommendation in the House, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? Senate, do a roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling? Votes aye. Senator Crow? Votes aye. Senator Hatcher? Votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Oliver? Votes aye. Senator Seal? Senator Sutherland? Senator Jackson? Chairman Rose?
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you. Moves forward with positive recommendation. Thank you so much for being here today, and that is the Board of Osteopathic Examination, Health-Related Boards. Thank you so much, Mr. Carter. I believe you have the next one. Before you proceed, hang on just a second. We're going to go out of session for just a moment and yield to Doug Garrett, our legal counsel. Out of session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doug Garrett with the Office of Legal Services. Just to clarify, a part of this rule was withdrawn by the board on, as it pertains to disciplinary actions, civil penalties, assessment of costs, and screening panels. And that specific rule number is 1150-01-0.15. That rule was, or that withdrawal was filed on November 7.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Carter, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Grayson Carter, Department of Health. With me is advisory attorney for the Board of Physical Therapy, Michael Varnell. The Board of Physical Therapy is seeking to rewrite its rules for physical therapists and physical therapists.
But rewind that, tell us who you're with, and we are back in session. Sorry about that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. My name is Grayson Carter. I'm with the Department of Health. Item number 13 is for the Board of Physical Therapy, general rules governing the practice of physical therapy. The Board of Physical Therapy is seeking to rewrite its rules for physical therapists and physical therapist assistants to update the verbiage of various rules to be more clear and concise and to better reflect current practices of physical therapy. The majority of the rule amendments are to incorporate the recommended retrospective rule changes pursuant to Public Chapter 328 of 2021. Rule 1150-01.02 is being amended to remove language that is already in statute and thus duplicative. Rule 1150-01.04 is being amended to better reflect current practices of licensing foreign educated graduates. Rule 1150-01.05 is being amended to clarify the procedure for licensure reciprocity. Rule 1150-01.06 is being amended to include fee increases to ensure the board remains self-sufficient. Rule 1150-01.2 424.23 is being added as a new rule and outlines the use of telemedicine by physical therapists and physical therapist assistants. And with that, we'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carter. Any questions from our committee? Chairman Crowe, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We need to be very careful with this because, as you know, this board controls the activities of Senator Bo Watson, who is a physical therapist.
So you want to continue? Is there more to this?
I don't know if we can go forward without him here, but I do have some constituents here. I have Dr. Alan Mead with me, and the APTA Executive Director, Amy Breedlove, is with us. And Bo is almost as good a physical therapist as Alan Mead. So I think we can go ahead and proceed. We'll be okay.
Very good. Thank you so much for those comments. I'm thinking we ought to tie it to some funding approvals, but maybe that won't work either. So, all right, any other questions or comments from our committee? All right, seeing none from our audience, I see none. We have a motion for positive recommendation from Chairman Reedy, and we have a second. Thank you, sir. We have a motion second. We'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crowe votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose
Aye.
votes aye. Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you. We'll take a voice vote in the House. All in favor of the House, please say aye. And opposed? All right, moves forward with positive recommendation. Mr. Carter, thank you so much for being here. And I believe you've got one more. You got 2 more, actually. So if you don't mind, tell us who you're with. Good with me. Mr. Carter, you're recognized. Proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Grayson Carter, Tennessee Department of Health. With me today is Ashley Fine, who's the advisory attorney for the Polysomnography Professional Standards Committee. And to her right is Mark Spiceland, who is a member of that committee. Item number 14, Rule 088014.03 is being amended to increase the time limit for accepting examination scores for out-of-state applicants from 12 months to 36 months if other criteria are met. The committee voted unanimously to approve this rule change, and there were no public comments. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any questions from our committee? Any public comments? Seeing none, we have a positive recommendation from, and a second. All right, we'll take a voice vote in the House. All in favor of the House, please say aye. And opposed? And a roll call vote in the Senate, Madam Clerk.
Senator Bowling votes aye. Senator Crowe votes aye. Senator Hatcher votes aye. Senator Kyle. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal. Senator Sutherland. Senator Jackson. Chairman Rose
Aye.
votes aye. Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Thank you so much. This moves forward with positive recommendation. Mr. Carter, thank you so much. You are at the end of the meeting. It's, item number 15 on page 387, and you may proceed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Last rule today is for the Polysomnography Professional Standards Committee. Rule 088014.02 is being amended to increase fees to ensure the board stays self-sufficient. The initial application fee is being raised from $200 to $375, and the biennial renewal fee is being raised from $120 to $275. The committee voted unanimously to approve this fee increase, and there were no public comments. With that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from our committee? Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this fee increase is designed to do what?
So all Grayson Carter, Department of Health, all those boards have to stay self-sufficient, which means they have to have a carryover balance of 2 times the average of the past 3 years' expenses. So I don't believe this board has raised fees in almost a decade. As their operational costs increase, They spend down that carryover till it gets to a point where they have to build it back up, and then that's why they have to increase these fees.
And you will revisit this fee increase when?
Well, the renewals are every 2 years, so we'll take a look at it after 2 years and see where we're at with the carryover balance. And if we need to keep it the same, or if we need to decrease it, we will at that point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think it's actually 2.5 times your annual cost. And Representative Hardaway, let me just say this. We've been really, I think, proactive in reducing fees, but we found in some instances they've gotten below that self-sufficiency and they've had to go back up again. So it's been kind of like a yo-yo, but it's a good question and do appreciate the answer. Any other questions from our committee? From our audience? Seeing none, do I have a motion for policy recommendation? Chairman Reedy and Senator Bowling, thank you so much. We'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk, please do so.
Senator Bowling? Votes aye. Senator Crowe? Votes aye. Senator Hatcher? Votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Oliver? Votes aye. Senator Steele? Senator Sutherland? Senator Jackson? Chairman Rose?
Aye. Excuse me, aye. We'll take a voice vote in the House. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Moves forward with positive recommendation. Thank you so much for being here. Committee, thank you for your patience today. Good questions. And we will be back December the 16th and 17th. Hang on. All day, both days. Not my call. Happy Thanksgiving. That's my call.